Okay, we are live. Live nude words on the radio. This is March 10th. We were here last week and we talked about Deadpool and flirted with some other shows, but decided to save those for a later episode. Things got a little hectic because I got a new job and Ford's been busy. So now we've got this week. I guess we'll just go through pretty much everything that we've missed because no point in pushing anything else back.
Little roundup of the last month, the winter roundup, if you will, pre the new seasons of everything starting. Well, we'll talk about everything up until this week's Shield, essentially the debut. And if you want to get into that, we can too. I watched it. So first off, a show that came and went during the break. Agent Carter finished its second season. I think
we've had one episode that we did together since then. Then we talked about the first 4 orders. So and we also talked about, I think, everything but the last episode of early spring shows. I don't know. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, this Agent Carter finished its second season. I quit watching midway through the second season because I got mad at ABC when they cast Haley Atwell in a legal drama from Shonda Rhimes, because we need more Shonda Rhimes shows on TV. And I thought, oh, well, that's the end of that. And then it leaked that, no, they were planning on renewing season 3 of Agent Carter as a 12-episode series ender next year. So I finished, and boy, I'm glad I finished. When it ended,
I did not stop watching Agent Carter. Sorry?
Was it when it ended and S.H.I.E.L.D. came back? I was actually wishing we had more Peggy and more Jarvis, and I could do with. I don't know. S.H.I.E.L.D. was fine, but I actually wish we had more Agent Carter. I mean, the way it ended was awesome, and it turned into a comedy. Like, why did it take them so long to figure out that it wasn't a drama? It was a comedy.
Yeah, I think that I didn't stop watching it, not for your reason, but just unless I really dislike a show, if it's pitching to my interests and my genre, I try and support it. And so I thought the season was good, just like last season. But just like last season, Agent Carter started slow. It was kind of an old-fashioned slow build story, as if it was a 10-hour movie as opposed to 10 one-hour episodes. And I think that a lot of people kind of bailed after episode 3, or by episode 3. And maybe that's why the numbers dropped, because it just got better and better. And I thought the first 3-4 episodes were very good, although I thought that it was a little bit slow. But the last 6 episodes, man, it was fantastic. I thought it was fun. I love when Howard's involved, because the guy that plays Howard Stark is just great.
Yes, I was going to talk about Dominic Cooper. They used him sparingly because he's off being preacher, which
that's pretty cool.
I mean, right? That's what he's been doing. Awesome. But no, I don't know what it is about Marvel and their TV villains, but every single TV villain has been better than every single movie villain except for Loki, and he doesn't really count as a villain.
Yeah, I mean, Loki's awesome, but you're right. The rest of the Marvel movie villains have been lacking. A lot of people bitched about Ronan the Accuser. I thought Ronan was pretty cool. I didn't think that he had the depth of Loki. To be fair, Loki, I don't know that he was quite as amazing in the first Thor movie. He still was, but he was still a lot more of a focus, because he was not as much a protagonist as Thor, but he was very much in the middle of protagonist and antagonist lines. And because there were the Warriors 3, but no one paid as much attention to them as everyone in Guardians of the Galaxy got. So by the time it got to the villain, Guardians of the Galaxy didn't have a whole lot of real estate left for Ronan the Accuser. But I did think he was cool. However, yeah, the rest of them are just those, the fairly generic clones of the hero, except Agent Carter, because no one except the villain in this one had powers, was able to do a lot more things. I mean, yeah, she was a female, and I guess, of course, got to have a chick villain on a chick hero show. I'm being sarcastic. I don't necessarily believe that, but she was so good. It didn't bother me. Obviously, I thought she was awesome. I thought Peggy was awesome. I thought the black guy whose name I'm zoning on was awesome. The guy that played Jarvis is great, And as I mentioned, Howard Stark is just fantastic to have on television.
Yeah, the sticking with the villain part of it, Whitney Frost was my favorite part of the show that wasn't Peggy or Howard. Probably I mean, I was gonna say yes, you're right. You kind of, I mean, it is male villains have like a male version of themselves or heroes, and they fight male, But Jessica Jones, the actual first Marvel, I mean, I guess Agent Carter was first, but Jessica Jones' villain was clearly not a female. So,
Very true.
but age. I mean, I actually enjoyed. I mean, the time we spent with Tenet on Jessica Jones was just nightmarish. The time we've spent with, but Jessica. I mean, Whitney Frost probably. I mean, how she was the superpowered one on the show, and everybody else, was non. Interesting dynamic. And tragic. Her character was so. I mean, her greatest fear is that all her no one will understand that she's a genius. They only think she's a pretty face, and that all and then at the end, it's like all of her work gets co-opted by Shield, and she'll never like. It is kind of her character. She had a full arc. She started here, went here, and went back.
She's like she's almost a play off of the woman who invented Bluetooth, or who invented like the science for Bluetooth, like during World War II or something. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she was a big movie star, supposedly a beautiful woman. I don't recall even seeing her picture at this point, but I've heard about her on a couple of different radio shows, and she like laid the groundwork for Bluetooth and Wi-Fi connectivity as we know it, and was basically ignored because she was a female. But now, 50 years, 60 years later, we started using those for everything, and people started talking about her again a little bit. But can't remember her name, so not being real helpful, I guess.
Yes, and confirming Whitney Frost's greatest fear.
That is correct.
I just enjoyed that the plucking of a minor Iron Man villain and turning her into this 50s tortured genius was wonderful. But really, the only thing anybody wants to talk. I mean, this was Peggy's show. She's the star, and I feel like it's kind of just a flippant middle finger. I'm sure Gal Gadot is going to be wonderful, and I'm sure whoever they cast as Black Canary is going to be wonderful. But like, Marvel's been running this giant middle finger for a couple of years now, where they have the woman who should be playing Wonder Woman playing Agent Carter, and the woman who should be playing Black Canary playing Black Widow, and they're basically just been like, nah, we got them first. Because if you've seen pictures of Gal Gadot, she's going for the Peggy Carter vibe in her like 19 teens get up as like a plucky woman in a man's world. They're going for that vibe. It's the Snyder.
I hope they're not going for a plucky woman in a man's world. I hope they're going for a powerful kind of bitchy woman in a man's world.
I'm sure it's Snyder, so it'll be
very demanding. What'd you say?
I'm sure it'll be Snyder's. It'll be a metal version of that. But yeah, the way there's no way Gal Gadot could be as physically intimidating as Peggy. Like, I feel like Peggy could kick my ass.
Gal Gadot was in the Israeli Special Forces. I'm pretty sure she'd kick our ass too.
I know, but she's like 5'5".
Oh no, I'm not saying that. I didn't argue she doesn't look as intimidating. I'm just saying physically she's supposed to be pretty fucking badass.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not gonna to dog Gal Gadot before I see her. But Peggy Carter has been awesome, and Haley Atwell is very good. I thought she had some incredible scenes in those last 4 episodes. She had a lot of range to play. She had dark and vengeful and love, and there was some silliness and some goofy comedy stuff going on, like you talked about. Like, they used her in a lot of good ways. And the one way that she's being the least well used is when it is just a straight drama show. Not because she's not great in that, but because it just slows everything down, and the whole show's vibe doesn't seem to work quite as well when it's a real slow espionage show. Like, it's kind of like the difference between the first Mission Impossible and every other Mission Impossible is The first one's a slow espionage show. The big action sequence is him running from a wave and him climbing around on a train, which is cool, but there's much less of the quick moving, fast cuts, dialogue, witty dialogue, action, and she does everything so well. I thought these last 3 episodes were amazing.
I don't think it okay, it's something's wrong with the audio, but I guess it fixes itself. I don't think that it should be if and I guess it is coming back for season 3. I mean, hopefully they've dropped a lot of the slow burning, espionage stuff, and just have her wittily banter with men who think they're superior than her. Like, that's really what the show is, right? It's like some man, Jack Thompson, comes in and is like, "Oh, Peggy, you did this," and she's like, "Oh, you are totally wrong," in some really plucky manner, and then goes and punches someone in the face. Just stick to you don't need the trying to see the MacGuffins. Just let her do her thing. Because the other
they do rely on that kind of 1940s 50s film noir style with a big focus on the MacGuffin, and it has the vibe of an old movie because it's set that way and it's well set. The decor looks correct, the outfits look good, but you don't have to direct the whole thing with quite that slow vibe. The way we directed movies in the 60s, it doesn't fly anymore. The Godfather starts way too slow if you try and watch it. Doesn't mean it's not an amazing film. It's just the film sensibilities have evolved in the past 40 years. And if you take an hour to tell your first act, or your first act up, your first act up until after the change where it starts to start progressing quickly, you've already lost a lot of people.
I wonder if they know what they're like. Yes, you're totally right. But then again, the Netflix shows build slower than slow. But
you can binge those.
That's what. Okay, you got to my point. I wonder if they're smarter than us, and they're like, people will watch it, but really, this will go on Netflix in 3 years, and it'll be people will burn through the first 2 Agent Carter seasons in a day. And maybe it won't be so, because when I told you and the audience that I stopped until they got a pickup. My guess is that I definitely enjoyed the watching 4 in a row more than watching
the last
for 4 weeks.
Two of the last 3 weeks they did 2 episodes a night. They did 2 episodes back to back. 2 weeks ago and 3 weeks ago and 2 weeks ago. And I bet that helped because burning slowly, have to come back a week later. If you haven't already gotten to a cool cliffhanger, if you haven't already built some momentum, I think it's hard to get people to wait a week and then really make time their schedule to come back and to pay attention. And we have the opportunity to binge watch, still pause if you want. It's not like it's a movie where there's no breaks. It's not like a movie where, in a theater or something, so you have to worry about it being that long. They can still pause to do stuff, but they can just burn through. They can get through the setup into the meat quickly.
So is there anything else you want to cover with Agent Carter? More Howard Stark in everything. I cannot wait for Preacher, not because I'm a big fan of the Preacher comics, but because I want to see Dominic Cooper for an hour every week.
Yeah. I'm a fan of getting more comic book properties on TV. I'm a fan of getting more Vertigo properties on TV because maybe one day we can get Batman told on AMC or Netflix or HBO. But yeah, I didn't read a whole lot of Preacher either. That was Garth Ennis, right?
Yep, and he's heavily involved in the comic. In the show. So, but that's for another time. So there have been 2 episodes of Flash since 3 episodes of Flash.
Did we talk about Escape from Earth 2?
Yes, the first one, but we can just start from there. So Earth 2 Flash was awesome. Probably my favorite. Little 2-episode. I think that should be the way the Flash goes from now on. Instead of telling weekly stories, they could almost do 2 weeks at a time, a week at a time, 3 weeks at a time. I
agree. Not necessarily but like you said right there, no, still mix in solo shots sometimes, but don't feel that everything's got to be self-contained. You're not CBS. You're already very serialized. You could even have some cliffhangers. It's okay. If Lost can do it, no reason not to do it.
All of these shows have the exact same ratings from like week 3 till the season finales. Like it's the exact same people watching every single week. They know that. It's not like they so the Earth 2-hander, two-parter really enjoyed the dynamics of all the flipped characters. But I think we did talk about the first one. So and this, they get out of Earth 2 and what was the episode that they did upon coming back from Earth 2? King Shark, right? The last remaining tie to a possible Suicide Squad movie left on the table. They officially tied that loose end. Task Force X is gone.
King Shark's not even in Suicide Squad movie.
Rumor is that he's the tag. He's the stinger.
That'd be awesome. Cool. All right, well, that'd be awesome. Stinger.
Rumor is that it's not just like rumor is for the Suicide Squad movie coming out in August that the tag for that is somehow involving Momoa, Batman, Waller, and the Shark. As like that's this like those three coming together to discuss this water bill or something of that nature. That he's going to be the big, which really they're going to go from like the most grounded Batman movies ever, in the Nolan verse to Man of Steel, which really didn't change anything from the Donners that people could get mad at, to Batman vs Superman, which doesn't seem all that out. It's people are ready for those. To all right, we're just gonna go with King Shark. Like that's they're gonna go from Nolan to King Shark in less than like 6 years.
I think it depends on how you do King Shark, because like King Shark and Flash is, he's a particular version that was especially done in the 90s and a few others. But there's also been, I think, the original King Shark looked much more human. He looked kind of like Killer Croc, or the Lizard looks, where more like Killer Croc, where he's fish looking. He's got weird skin, and he's big, and he might have a fin or something, or he might have the thing on his back, the dorsal fin. But he's doesn't look like a whole shark head always. And then there's also the version from like the Assault on Arkham game or movie. And some comics, I think the late 90s, early 2000s, where he has the metal jaw, and big, and a mutant-looking dude with a metal jaw, but he's got a fairly normal head. Other than that, like James Bond. Of course, you do have the shark version, which is what he was in the Flash, and which was just great to see. And I thought the effects looked fine. I thought it was done really well. That episode 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, that was. I actually was gonna bag on the effects. I think if you're gonna do that, you don't want to do it like he was kept running around on land. You need to hide you don't need to just have this guy running like this, and walking around. Like it's better for him popping out or like seeing around corners, or use him like a movie monster would be.
They did use a lot of them, but I thought that he looked a little bit too smooth. I thought he looked better than Atom Smasher did when he grew large in the first episode of this season. Atom Smasher grew large. His hands looked kind of blatantly CGI. There was no texture to him really. And I thought the shark. I don't think it was perfect by any means, but on a CW budget, and really even compared to Supergirl's villains on CBS budget, I thought King Shark looked pretty good.
I was actually going to say, whether I thought it was good or not compared to Master Jailer and Indigo. Yeah. On Supergirl the last couple weeks, which they obviously burned through their budget like the first month, and we're like, because the CGI in that show has gone downhill exponentially over the last few episodes.
Haven't the ratings stayed pretty good for Supergirl?
They've been spectacular. I
know it won a Golden Globe or some shit. Like it's been well received. Why would you not make sure you kept going?
My guess is that these episodes were filmed and written and they had their whole because they supposedly they didn't take a break. They just kept going. They were just burning through everything.
Yeah.
So my guess is they just had the whole season in the can, and the budget was.
They extended the season to a full order, right?
Yep, 22. So maybe the last 3 or 4 will be really good.
That's what I'm thinking. Maybe they're saving their wad for like the big stuff at the end. And we know we still have the Flash coming in the next week or two, right?
I think that's next week.
Yeah. So there's still plenty of stuff to show. But yeah, I mean that Indigo was, I mean, not at all cool. Not at all a good choice of villain. It felt like something that would have been used on Smallville and would have been not very good there either.
I also wanted to say that's the Smallville actor they went with. Like, no Welling, no Rosenbaum, no Allison Mack. You brought this up a couple weeks ago, and I shat on it. But give Allison Mack something to do. Someone give her something to do. Put her on great. She should be. Does Felicity have a sister? No, she's an only daughter. But like, she would have been the perfect like Felicity's older sister.
Does Oliver have a son?
Well, I figured Mama Smoke would have brought it up at some point if she did.
Maybe.
But maybe not. Yeah, maybe it's an unknown sister. But either way, yes. This is the Smallville actor they went with for a... Indigo is a minor character. It's such a shame that the Bizarro episode was good, but I really think that should have been what they used with Vandervoort for.
Maybe they thought about that, and that's why they brought her on, and then they realized, man, she's not a very good actress. And so they pushed her back to some nobody character and just used a better actress for Bizarro.
I did like the Bizarro episode, but I think we talked about that.
We did.
But yeah, the Master Jailer may be the stupidest character anyone has done yet.
It wasn't even a poorly done version of a stupid character. It was I thought a fairly decent use of him as a character, but just the look and the name and the whoever designs these villains' costumes, from Jim to Master Jailer, the Neutron, where the fuck he was, dude, like these costumes are terrible. And they're very uninspired. It's like someone watched a few X-Men movies from the early thousands, a couple of Smallville episodes, and was like, got it, I know superheroes.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's like, yes, maybe that same person. I had something I was going to talk about this, and then it went out of my mind. Fuck. I had a point I wanted to make about Supergirl, but it's gone.
Sorry.
Keep talking.
Master Jailer, I mean, like, you know, those villains like Lock Up in Batman, and there's a few others, you know, kind of the Punisher premise. It's not a bad premise, and this guy I thought he was used decently in the episode. You know, it does a good job of harping on, because that's how they decided whether or not they could just keep Max Lord locked up without, you know, with extraordinary rendition, without habeas corpus rights. And the whole episode is based on, or is about Supergirl realizing, oh, that's right, I'm not God. You know, I can't just throw people in jail for no reason, or even if there is reason, without, you know, talking about it. And that, I thought that was, you know, fairly relevant, since we're talking about closing Guantanamo Bay again, finally, first time in years. And,
what about Guantanamo Bay?
Yeah, I have a problem with that every time it happens. Especially because Barry has an Argus. Barry can at least turn to Argus and be like, you know, it's off my hands. Well, he couldn't tell Diggle's wife. Well, he's not really with Diggle, so it's still easier for him. But Supergirl's like, yep, my partners are these unethical jailers. And they weren't even down for it. They just let one of their officers arrest, you know, put someone in jail without a habeas corpus. And they're like, well, that's not right. And she's like, you should understand, Martian. And he's like, oh, shit, I should have said anything. It wasn't that stuff. I mean, I understand they were getting to the point of having her realize that's wrong. You can't do that. But it was a little clumsier handled than usual.
Okay, so I remembered my point. So I think Cisco is the greatest comic book show movie innovation like ever. Having a character whose sole purpose is to come up with excuses to name the characters their names from the comics and it not be stupid. Like, that's something that every single movie, every single show that's ever been comic book based has struggled with. Is like, how do we shoehorn how do we shoehorn the names of these people that people want to hear, but it's usually a newspaper. Usually they go with a newspaper thing and it names them for them, and they're like, oh, that's what the publics are calling them. Oh, shucks. Yeah. But just having a character whose sole purpose, at least for the start, was to be like Heatwave, Captain Cold, Atom Smasher, that, just to come up with excuses for those. Super, like Master Jailer, yes, that's a comic book character's name, but if there was someone commenting on how stupid the name was, or saying it in a silly way, and then them all using it, it would have been a lot less ridiculous.
Yeah. Or in the show, they should at least just have him say his first name and announce himself as who he is, whether it's Cal Zor or this or that, and refer to himself as I'm the Master Jailer or something, but not refer to himself as that every time and them say that's his name. Or maybe say he's the fucking warden. I don't know. You can mention the name, have them say it like you said to make fun of him in a Cisco fashion. That Wen kid, there's no reason that Wen kid can't give people names.
Nope.
He has a lot of that same Cisco thing where he's kind of nerdy, but he likes a girl and what's happening. And yeah, I think you're right. There's that letting that kind of name be thrown around is just something nobody mentions is retarded, is not good enough.
All right. Well, Supergirl, I think we nailed that. Arrow had its Taken episode. That's literally what it was called. There was one other episode that they did. They, I guess, kind of really ended the Damien Dark arc at this point in time.
He's going to be in a meta jail, but he's got to be out, because at the end of the season, or in the flash forward, doesn't he say, I'm going to kill Damien Dark or something like that, or you have to kill Damien Dark?
No,
or does it say I have to kill him?
Yeah, Felicity says you have to kill him now. So
okay,
I still
it doesn't necessarily have to be Damien Dark. It could be Malcolm. Probably is Malcolm.
I still think it's Thea, but I am leaning more and more toward one of Mama Smoker or Quentin Lance as the death.
No, I meant the villain could be Malcolm. The person he has to kill could be Malcolm.
No, I just was expanding on that scene. Now that we've learned a little bit more, they feel like the red herring was Felicity. Obviously, they let us hang with that over Christmas break. And now that that's officially over, and we can get into that's why they didn't cure Barbara Gordon for 30 years. Like, that really awkward, horrible scene at the end of the last episode was why they didn't do that.
She gets up and can walk again magically.
Because imagine if you were in a wheelchair watching that.
They paid you service, because remember earlier in the episode, she tried once before to walk and it didn't work real good. So they showed how hard life is, when you're disabled.
Dan Didio, he's been head of DC Publishing for a long time, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that probably was he was definitely head of in 2001 or whatever, right?
2001.
Yeah.
What happened in 2001?
I stood up at a panel at Comic-Con and asked them why they would pick Barbara Gordon, and he said it because it would have been awkward. It would have alienated their handicapped fan base or whatever he said. I don't remember. It's a long time ago.
I don't know if he was publishing in 2001. He definitely has been there in charge since like the Final Crisis era.
Whoever that guy
almost 10 years. But I'm not sure if he's been there in charge for 15.
I was kind of offended that like, oh, she's fixed. It was just if they knew they were going to fix her, they could have at least dropped. If all it would have taken was one or two, you have some movement in some, like, as long as they didn't say is like, all it would have taken was one or two nuggets of possibility or hope for her, or little movements here and there, and like with it, but the fact that it was like, nope, she's paralyzed. We're making her Oracle. Everybody, and then nope, she can walk again. Like that was ridiculous. Ridiculous Arrow.
Yeah, I didn't love it either. I still thought that Oliver probably should have cheated on her while she was in the wheelchair because my Oliver does dumb things. But
he was cozying up to Laurel.
What did you say?
He started re-cozying up to Laurel like as soon as Felicity went down. Like they made a point to stick Ollie and Laurel in a few scenes together.
Hey, look, you know what? Laurel, the actress that plays her, is not my favorite. But I love my comic books. I want to see Green Arrow be an environmentalist and a progressive, and I want to see him with Dinah Lance, and I want to see him cheat on Dinah Lance. Not because it's nice and it's what people should do, but it's because that's why I grew to like Green Arrow more and more as I got older and agree with you more and more that he was such a great character. Is because he's so realistic and human and flawed, but still is a diehard hero who will, fight to the end to save people and cares so much more about everything. He's not just like, yeah, I'm saving people from being murdered. He's like, oh, that's great. I'm also saving them from starving and from not having clean water and from global warming because fucking big business wants to kill everyone. Like Oliver's agenda of who he wanted to save was always a lot bigger than everybody else's.
They went down that path with him running for mayor. I think really the theme of this Green Arrow season is them writing themselves into corners and then successfully, I guess, getting out of it. I mean, having a main character be mayor that was just never going to work for a 22 episode season. Someone that's running around committing, essentially, beating the shit out of people every night. Like you never buy that was a politician. And they the Taken episode they did kind of successfully cleared Ollie of that, and they were going to paralyze the character, and then I guess having Mr. Terrific around really, like, that was his purpose, right? Was to introduce this character, show how smart he was, show that he could invent things. So thus he was Beric Dondarrion to later on Melisandre bringing Jon Snow back. You have to show it early on that he's that smart, so that when it does happen, the audience isn't mad.
Right.
Sorry, I had a deep Game of Thrones reference there, so I apologize.
No, I totally get the Game of Thrones reference. You got Dondarrion 3 seasons ago setting up what we expect will be the Deus Ex Machina that starts off this next season of Game of Thrones, or at least plays a giant role in the next season of Game of Thrones.
That's the term.
And you're right.
He was a Deus Ex Machina that wasn't, because they built it in for the whole season.
Right.
But the Taken
they built in the one for Game of Thrones, with a couple of views a long time ago.
Right.
But they just left it alone for a long time.
But the way they got out of the running for mayor episode, I thought was great. Like they had Ollie was just like, okay, I'm gonna resign right now. It's not quick enough. I'll do it in the morning. It's not quick enough. I'll call a press conference right now.
I agree.
That was great. And now that that's over, oh well. They could have done some cool stuff politically with it, like you were saying. On CW show in an election year was probably never going to happen.
Probably not. But if they wanted to, they still could. They wanted to, he can still say, well, I had to drop out, but it's made me realize how important it is for me to fight for not just crime, but for my city and the people and the issues that I care about. And so I plan to be, more active and more devoted to a lot of these things than I have been.
I guess someone is going to end up being mayor, because Damien Dark's wife probably won't end up being the long-term solution to that. So I wonder who will eventually take that role.
You never know. DC did make Lex Luthor president just because then he could be an incredible pain in Superman's butt. So I guess there's really no reason to assume they wouldn't make her mayor just to make her an extreme pain in Green Arrow's butt. But I do agree with you. I don't think it's likely.
So I think that's going to, because Quentin Lance's role has changed, went from I hate Arrow to I'm fired, now I have to work with Arrow, to oh, I hate Arrow again, to now oh, I'm pretending to work with the others so I can help. Like they have to like come up with an excuse for him to still be on the show. So either he's going to be the dead person or he'll be mayor, because what else are you going to do with that actor?
Okay, him being mayor I hadn't considered, and you're right, it makes sense. Or at the very least, he could run for mayor, and that could be what finally gets him killed. But I do think he's who dies. I think that now that you've got Laurel's sister back and in action and around full time, even if she's not around the show, she's in the universe, and Laurel knows she's alive and doing well. She still has her mom alive. She's had plenty of time to get over Tommy. I see, and you're right, they keep changing Lance's role, and he's not really an integral part of the team, other than the fact that maybe they like him as an actor and think he'd be good as the mayor. I see no reason why you don't kill him for maximum emotional impact with minimal sacrifice.
And no one can feel bad for that actor because somehow that like 50-year-old dude is dating Megan Fox.
No, he's not.
Yes.
Well, then he definitely should be the character that dies.
That was my reaction too. I was like, really? That's strange, right? Okay, yes. Because Stephen Amell posted a photo from the Green Arrow set, and like he's like hanging out with Megan and her boyfriend. I think I know this guy.
Yeah, I think I heard about that. Jeez, I didn't realize who it was. So I was we were talking about season 2 of the Judas Contract last time we did this, and we were talking about Deathstroke and Terra and
Statutory rape.
Ravager and all that. What'd you say?
Statutory rape.
Yeah. That's the rapey. So we were talking about Deathstroke's daughter, Ravager, and that kind of stuff. And so I've been going back the last 2 weeks. I've probably read through like 25 of my old Titans comics, my old New Teen Titan comics from the like 1981 through 85, 86.
Is that Marv Wolfman?
I mean, I forgot. What was that?
That Marv Wolfman?
Marv Wolfman and George Perez. And they were so huge. I was reading about some of the books. I forgot they were like the biggest series of the early 80s. And they had some great stuff with Trigon and with Deathstroke and Brother Blood, who was in Arrow a couple seasons ago. With
That's
Hive,
right.
They're always fighting Hive, and I mean it's some good stuff. They did so many big things there, not just the Judas Contract, but with Deathstroke as a character, and that means Deathstroke was a full 8-9 years before Deadpool, which I think was how we kind of got into the conversation last time.
Yeah, that was how it was. Because the Teen Titans. Oh, you know what? Let's all just, while we bring this up, let's all applaud them for season 3 of Young Justice coming next fall.
Well, okay, are you serious? It's been announced as real? Because that's the other thing I've been doing is binge watching Young Justice, because I never got to the time shift. I never got to season 2.
The jump.
I've never seen
5 years.
It's the Nightwing show.
Yes.
You know how long I've been waiting for the Nightwing show?
I assumed you must have watched that. No, it's wonderful.
I watched the first season live on TV, and then I've never seen it have more than one season available on Netflix. I've never noticed it. I thought it only had one season available on Netflix. I'd always heard little bits about it, but I'd never been able to actually watch it. And so I've been binge watching Young Justice season 2, and it's the Nightwing show. And I love me some Dick Grayson. That's all.
Yeah, I assume that Artemis will show up at some. I know they're calling her Speedy, but at some point, either Thea will take the. I mean, while we're still talking about Arrow and we're talking about this, either at some point Thea will get tired of the Speedy nickname and will be like, and start dressing in green and like with a ponytail or something, or they're gonna have to bring in that character because there aren't many Archers left. They haven't brought in any of the DC universes, and she's for sure one of them. The Roy supplement, because they didn't want to have too many dudes on the team for in Young Justice.
Yeah, no, I think that you leave Thea as Speedy, you leave Roy as Arsenal, and then you could have a whole new character. You could have the drug addicted girl that end up having AIDS and stuff. That version of her.
That's Mia.
I know, but she could still have her be Artemis, because I don't think in the comics Artemis was always Chester's sister.
No, Young Justice. If they are, that was just such an underrated show, and I love that someone at some point saw the cast for that for season 1 and was like, "No, you can't not have an art like you." A Green Arrow fan is going to get mad that there isn't some version of Roy in this. So
she was great. It was kind of like another version of the Spoiler, because the Spoiler was the daughter of the Clue Master, another stupid fucking Batman character with a dumb name. But
Spoiler. She had a purple costume, right?
She's the one that Leslie Tompkins let die to teach Batman that his crusade was cursed. But then she was
that? I read that.
But then that was right before the Red Hood story, the Return of Red Hood, whatever it was.
Yeah, I feel like she was involved with Renee Montoya when she became the Question. I feel like Spoiler was involved in that story somehow.
Maybe. It was during that War Games and War Crimes Judd Winnick series. It was really good.
Well, anyway, so we obviously that there wasn't much to talk about with Arrow. Well, I guess we did quite a bit, but Ollie and Star City make an appearance on our next show. Legends of Tomorrow pretty much came and went during this winter break. I think there's 2 episodes left before the finale.
That sounds right.
Love this show. I think the pilot is someone fucked up in not making that a feature, because that's a solid 2 hours. Like boom, boom, boom. That could have been a Booster Gold movie if they wanted to do that.
I wish it was Booster Gold. I guess if he was Booster Gold and Blue Beetle, they wouldn't have gotten all these other people. So I guess it makes sense having him be a rogue time master. I also thought it was funny that Skip's this Rave Rider, who is one of my favorite time masters or type characters from like the early 90s. He was involved in 0 Hour and a lot of that stuff.
It's funny you say that you wish he was Booster Gold, because in the last episode, it is revealed that Rip Hunter is not his name, and that is in fact, I'm looking it up right now because I forgot. But it basically is saying that Rip Hunter isn't his name and he's Booster Gold's dad, and so the person he's essentially trying to save his son is Booster Gold.
That would be awesome.
That's what the internet told me after the last episode of Legend of Tomorrow. But Legends we've visited the 80s, the 70s,
the 2040s.
Yes. Okay. And Star City 2046. By far, I was going to say by far the best episode, but Deathstroke's son was so weak in that it dragged that whole episode down.
Okay, so I was reading through those old comics. I guess Deathstroke's son was the original Ravager in the night when Deathstroke first appeared. I think he's dead and was redone as the daughter, who was kind of, I think, wasn't the daughter also a like Artemis, where she was a plant?
Yes.
Or maybe she wasn't a complete plant, but started out that way. Regardless, you're right. I thought it was cool, but he didn't have the Ravager costume, which he should have had, just to show it. And he definitely, this guy that played the new Deathstroke, did not have the gravity or the charisma of Manu Bennett.
Can you talk for 30 seconds?
Sure. I've been watching Manu Bennett play Alanon in the Shannara series on MTV, which was decent, I guess. It wasn't a super disappointment. I expected it to be MTV budget, MTV, Dawson's Creek type stuff going on. And to be fair, the book was about 2 teenagers and had a love story and stuff. But it wasn't phenomenal. It was pretty cool, and he was very good in it. And I was so excited when I saw that Deathstroke was in that episode, because I was hoping it was Manu Bennett. So I don't know if he plans on ever coming back or if he's moved on to bigger and better things, but I hope he comes back, because Deathstroke is awesome, and it's been long enough that it would be cool to revisit Deathstroke. We know he's out there somewhere. I also can't recommend and can't say enough about Teen Titans. Watching this old, reading these old Teen Titans stuff, they are begging. They need to be on TV somewhere. It's written the kind of stories that fairly serious, of a the teen, not teen, but young adult, movies, aimed at 16 through 24, somewhere in their range. And it's cool. It's serious. It has a lot of stuff the X-Men start, doing in the 80s when it gets a little more sexual and adult narrated. It's really cool.
I have not watched this. It's Elfstones, right? That's what the story. That's the Shannara they're doing, right?
Yeah, they're doing the second book, Elfstones.
Which I think that's the best of those books, so I should watch that. Because that's
it was the first one I read. I thought was the best one. I think it was the most popular for sure.
It's like Romeo and Juliet, and then the girl turns into a tree.
That's correct.
Right? Like it was like this totally like star-crossed lovers, like heartbreaking story, and then eventually it's like, oh, she just turns into a tree.
Yeah.
Okay, so I remember that right. So anyway, yeah. I guess I wanted to see Summer or whatever River. I wanted to see River. Right, her name is Summer Glau. That's confusing. As back, like, why couldn't they choose her? But I guess if this character already existed, at this point, we should never doubt that they're just inventing a character, and we should always assume that the people that run this show and write this show, like, are pulling from somebody's database, somebody's run somewhere. But yeah. Ollie as the one, they didn't have him shoot an arrow with his teeth, but I guess that'd be really hard.
I don't know. They need to have him do it. It probably would have been hard to do and have it look as good as they usually have the archery look, but it couldn't have looked any worse than Thea did shooting arrows last season.
Thea's the MVP of this season of Arrow, by the way, or most improved player of this season, by the way.
Maybe both, but definitely most improved. And it just gets better and better. Like this last episode that was live, so 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, whatever, she has an extended fight scene. She's diving through rubble and doing rolls and stuff. And there's never a time where I'm like, oh, that's definitely a stunt double. And I'm sure there was stunt doubles in it, but she does enough of her own work. They can get her face in it a lot. And the transitions are smooth. And if you watch other fight scenes, Laurel, you can tell a lot of the time it's not a stunt double because they wouldn't pay a stunt double who couldn't swing like an adult, when she swings her little batons. Like, it looks like she's swinging a nightstick. It looks like it must be made of foam. It has so little force behind it when she hits. And you can see that fine. In a few episodes when Diggle's brother was in a fight with like a colonel, they roll over and you can see in at least a couple of frames, it's like some white dude with a buzzed afro on, and you're like, okay, if they're that bad at this on a regular basis, or these little edits, and not terrible, but just enough, there's little mistakes, it just tells you how incredibly improved Thea is.
That's what I was gonna say. Thea is so much better. But what it's Katie Lutz, not Katie Caston. Katie Lutz might be the all-time female fighter, like regardless of. I mean, is there a movie fighter that fights as well as her? Maybe other Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon chick. Katie Lutz, her fight scenes on Legends of Tomorrow, the scene where they have to break into the Russian gulag. It's not even that one. It's another. They're breaking into another prison. They break into a lot of prisons in this show, and so she kicks the ass of like 4 people, and they're struggling with one, and she's like, "I just took down 6 people. You guys haven't even taken down one yet." She's the best female fighter. I mean, I've probably ever seen in a movie or television show.
I'd have to think about it before making quite that big a statement. Off the top of my head, I think she'd fit right at home in a fight scene in The Matrix with that much more camera work and wires to help her out. I'm sure she'd be right at home in that.
Maybe Gina Serrato and like
fast. She's fast, and when she swings, you believe it has power to it. When Laurel swings, it looks like a kid hit somebody. You're like, it's a good thing that it made that character move, because that would have been unrealistic, because it looks like a kid hit them. But with you're right. With Katie Lutz, it does look realistic. It looks like she's there with momentum and with force, and it's well choreographed, but better executed.
All right, so Legends of Tomorrow. I was trying to think of other things to talk about. They did not just fucking kill Heatwave, did they? I'm gonna be mad if we don't get lines like "He's coming back around to." I mean, you can't have Wentworth Miller's just his shtick doesn't work as well without that guy's shtick.
They could always go back in the past and just tell him not to go.
Or he could have. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It really seemed out of character that Leonard Snart, whatever you want to call him, would have done that.
I agree. I thought Snart should just had him dropped off in 2042 or the fuck it was that he wanted to be, or like I said, just swing back by. You told us to get on this plane and just tell him not to, and we'll all come back.
But yeah, though I do think the cast members of this show, I don't think will, other than maybe Ray and Sarah, and maybe Kendra too. I mean, I could see a lot of these cast members being cycled out, and for whether they want to, whether Teddy Sear, whether it's like a Moody situation and there's a real Teddy Sears somewhere, or a real Jay Garrick somewhere that they want to use, or they want maybe they go grab that kid who played Connor Hawk in the Star City episode. I feel like that the cast, maybe not season 1, but I do think that season 2 will have at least 2 or 3 dead and or replaced cast members.
I would not be surprised that. I also is Heatwave is great and all, but he is nowhere near as good or appealing to me as Captain Cold. And I do think they work great together, but I think Cold will be fine by himself. So we'll find out very shortly, it appears. But I'm not that worried, I don't think. We didn't talk about the end of Flash and how it revealed who was behind Zoom's mask, did we?
Nope, totally skipped over that whole thing. So yeah, it was Jay all along. I knew that when they showed us that his double was Hunter Zolomon. It didn't make any sense that was of why the pieces fit, but I got that that's what they were trying to tell me. I don't know how I got that, but I did get that.
It made sense. They gave you his name. They said it's Hunter Zolomon. So it was hard not to at least think that made a lot of sense. What I'm guessing is they're both Hunter Zolomon. Neither one's really Jay Garrick. But what does that mean about Dr. Wells? Shouldn't he know who the Flash is on Earth too?
That's what I'm thinking. I think that here's my theory. That at the season finale or at the very end or whatever, it's going to be revealed that there were 3 of those J. Hunter Zolomons, and that it's Earth 3.
That would be crazy.
Like I feel like that he might be.
Zoom came over from another Earth that they didn't know about. That's why he appeared then. That would be interesting.
And I don't know if it would make much sense, but I do think that
they point out there's 52 anomalies, 52 parallel universes.
Yeah, and we know one's going to be the Snyderverse. One is the new animated.
We saw that one was the Flash from the 90s. We saw one with Supergirl. We saw when he was running. Sorry, what?
Supposedly, because they're planning on that the current animated universe, the one with Flashpoint and the Atlantis one, is one, and that supposedly both the old DC universe and the old Dini-verse are also members of this current 52.
That's awesome.
And Smallville as well. So I think we're up to like 8 or 9 known ones.
I saw a barrel and a gun flash, and it looked to me like the 89 Batman when Joker shoots when Jack Napier shoots Batman's parents. I don't know if it was. That's what it looked like to me. It looked like someone firing a pistol in that gritty old Tim Burton's the fashion.
Well, actually, you reminded me that with the Nolan verse probably makes it 10 known ones, and so the Keaton verse, that would be 11. You could probably deduce Red Sun. They know they've said that that's current that's at least accounted for as well. So you can probably get to close to 40 known ones if you wanted to.
That's pretty awesome. It's a brave new world we live in. It's a new frontier.
Yeah, that's the universe. That's my favorite universe that no one's ever going to go back to because I think that guy died, right?
Darwin Cook? I'm not sure.
Oh, no, I thought that was Dwayne McDuffie.
No, he was the one that did the JLU.
That's right. But he also did some comic work, too.
After JLU, because he started out in comics, he invented Lightning and Icon and Rocket and... Not Lightning, sorry, Static Shock is what I meant. Static, Icon, Rocket, and Hardware or something, bless you, for the Milestone comic universe back in the early 90s. And then they're now part of DC. I think, actually, yeah, Icon and them were in Young Justice. I know they're trying to make a Static Shock movie or show, and I ran out of thoughts.
Yeah, that's the dude. I guess Mark Bernardin supposedly is involved in the Static Shock production.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Anyway, I think we covered all of the comic book shows.
We haven't talked about S.H.I.E.L.D., but I said we save it for next week, and we'll do everything next week. We'll have because isn't everything back next week?
Yep.
So we'll have 2 Shields. Are you watching Gotham or Julie Bale?
Do you have 10 more minutes to just burn through this?
Yeah, let's burn through Gotham.
Okay.
I didn't bail, and I'm
out.
Well, you're out?
I'm out. Though I supposedly my favorite Batman creation appeared in the preview or at the end of last episode. And if Matches Malone is really involved in this show somehow, then I'm back on board.
Matches Malone has been revealed to be a important character they've been looking for.
Okay, I'm in.
And also the Mr. Freeze story. It was nowhere near as good as Heart of Ice, the Batman animated series. Paul Dini, what's his name? Paul Dini and
Bruce Timm.
Thank you. Not as good as that, but the second best version of Mr. Freeze I've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, mostly because the other versions all sucked. But
right. Okay,
it follows a lot of those beats. It jumps too far ahead too fast for me. It misses on some of the pain being the reason he finally goes cold, as opposed to he's just already killing people to save his wife, before the killing comes after when he's trying to keep her from being unplugged, or after in some stories when she is unplugged, he then turns to killing people. Like, there's different ways it's told of when he finally starts killing. But in this, he's already killing people and she's still alive. I mean, she's sick, but he's already doing tests on people, and it's more of the Welcome to Gotham, the TV show. Everything's a little zanier and crazier than the reasonable version of this stuff is. But it was still, like I said, it was still much better than obviously Batman and Robin. It was much better than the old comics. A lot of the more recent comics just completely ripped off Batman the Animated Series, because that's what you should do. Whenever someone tells the definitive greatest version of a character, you use that version. Unless you can improve it, you don't toss that one aside. And Gotham broke that rule. They tossed it aside and tried to improve it by making him less relatable and less haunting.
Yeah, you would know this. What debuted first? I guess it was year one. Was the Harvey story in year one, or was that in Long Halloween for those old Batman graphic novels? The Harvey
Dent was more in Long Halloween. Harvey,
okay.
I mean Harvey.
No, that's.
It depends if you mean his story towards Two-Face.
Yeah,
Harvey was in. Okay, because Harvey Dent was in year one, and they use him.
I'm thinking of the Long Halloween. But I was I just needed to know which one that was from. So which came first? the animated series is like kind of reimagining of Two-Face or Long Halloween? Because one drew from the other.
Oh, animated series.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like the most influential piece of like comic book film ever is that show.
Between those two characters right there and them defining their origins, definitively, and then creating Harley Quinn, who is one of DC's probably 5-6 most popular characters. That's 3 giant things they did.
Popular 2 characters. People haven't warmed on the Leto Joker yet, but I think they will. I
do too.
So I'm out on Gotham because it's just fucking ridiculous. Because Jim Gordon is the supervillain. Unless you can somehow convince me to watch it as this meta take on Batman, where Gordon is the ultimate supervillain. Like, I've seen previews of the new episode where like there's a female version of the Joker who looks exactly like. It's like, so by the time we get to the actual Joker, why would anyone care? He's just copying every single other like. I don't understand.
They're trying to say that like the Joker's origin, he's and to be fair, some of this might be from modern comic stuff. Because I've read something where in recent years he's some kind of personification of a god of mirth or mischief that's been haunting Gotham for like 200 so many years.
Did J. Michael Straczynski write that story?
Would not surprise me. I didn't read it. I haven't found it yet. I've read a bunch of the New 52 stuff. I don't know if it was there or the end of the pre-Flashpoint. I don't know where it is, but I've read somewhere that is a new thing they're doing with the Joker, and so I guess it's possible they're taking from that. But being that I think that sounds stupid, I also think that this idea of the Joker is not an original thing is stupid.
That's what Straczynski. He wrote that Spider Totem story where like there were always a Spider-Man and then it was like ridiculous. And as far as
did he write One More Day also?
Yes, but the changing of the mythos was like it's almost like he was the only guy who was allowed to do that. But it was
just like the freaking the clone story. 10 or 5 years before, we'll change it again, and I mean just all that stuff. The Clone Saga and Spider-Man is still possibly the most offensive thing I've ever read.
Okay, so because you brought that up, we're gonna wrap up with The Prodigal Son has returned. Today is Thursday, March 10th, and Spider-Man showed up in a Civil War trailer this afternoon. I'm sure. Have you watched it yet?
I saw the last few seconds with Spidey. That's it.
The trailer is amazing, but yes, we see our new Marvel Spider-Man. Can't wait. Fuck Andrew Garfield. Hope everybody remembers how awesome Tobey was with the new Spider-Man. Sam Raimi, you're my dude.
I love Tobey Maguire, and I'll defend his version of Spider-Man against any people who thought the new ones were better. The new ones I didn't dislike as much as a lot of people, where I thought that they needed to be canceled, but I definitely prefer my old school Spider-Man.
Yep. And I mean, I prefer Ultimate Spider-Man, but I'm down with Peter too. So anyway, we'll catch you next week. Won't be as jam-packed next week. No Carter. No. Maybe we'll talk. Yeah, I guess we'll have to talk about Gotham. This will keep me, I guess, watching, but that show's awful.
We'll see.
Downright awful.
We'll see. We'll see. I'm sort of watched for a while, but I just said I thought the Mr. Freeze story was one of their better efforts yet.
How was BD Wong?
But he was good. He's creepy as shit. Yeah, that's right. I forgot. Dude, BD Wong now is had a solid episode with quite a few scenes as Hugo Strange, and he's going to be creepy. He's doing the Hugo Strange thing. He is creepy and psycho-y, and it's going to be fun.
Hugo Strange is like the hardest Batman villain to write because he's just evil. Like he has no pathos to him. Like there's no or there's no there's no ethos. I guess is the one. There's no empathy. I don't know what his motivations are. You see, he just. The best use of Hugo Strange was in Arkham City, where he was just this ambient voice that yelled at you the whole game.
I think he'll be fine. He's just he's a doctor that that is more interested in the science than life, and that values his discoveries and his experiments more than life. I mean, I think that it's an archetype that you can find enough. The reason it worked is because it's films, that kind of stuff. I think Hugo Strange was one of the original 5 or 10 Batman villains, and it was never used again until the 80s. And
the first, the first would have been Joe Chill.
What was that?
The first would have been Joe Chill, right? But I mean, I guess he was the real first supervillain.
I think so. I mean, there's a couple there like the Mad Monk and that kind of stuff, but as far as real villain, I think he was the first one that then has been mastered. Because also a Fu Manchu type villain that you never see going back to because he was very racist.
The best one of those was Captain America in the 40s. I guess someone in the 40s fought Man-Ape, and it was just a big black guy. It was really no one's ever going to that. And they're all those old Fu Manchu. Oh man, so many of those old villains were just can't do that.
Being the merciless.
Yes. I like how Green Arrow got around one of the. Really, there's very few Asian women in comics, and one of them was called China White, and so Green Arrow got around it by calling her what is it, China Wei?
China Wei, yeah.
Which that worked, yes.
That was smart. All right, well that's it for Comic Books on TV, Thursday, March 10th. We'll be back next week, comic book time, same comic book channel.
Oh, today's Thursday. Today's 7 days and 3 hours. 7 days and 22 minutes. Daredevil season 2.
It's awesome. Well, I guess we know our second upcoming podcast will be about. And it'll probably be Saturday morning after we both watch Daredevil for a day straight.
Yeah, well, if the break between Daredevil season 1 and Jessica Jones was a lot smaller than season 2 and season 1 of Jessica Jones, because I feel like that some people would have barely that they're really going to roll them out like this. That's ridiculous. Anyway.
Yeah. All right, dude. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, man.
Bye, guys.